are you fulfilled with the life that you're living?
Yes.
And if you're not, well, then do you have the guts to go out and make some changes?
Yes.
That's it.
Yep.
I mean, that's like, even when I look at myself and retiring at 36, and it's like, do you have the guts to go, I'm not into it anymore.
Yep.
I'm not happy. I believe that each and every one of us has the power within ourselves to create the life that we really want. And I want to help give you the tools to make that happen. I'm Danica Patrick, and I'm pretty intense. Welcome to the Pretty Intense podcast. Today on the show is Tony and Frances Pappalardo, and they own a company called Customize Your Life, which, look, I met them on a friend basis on a vacation, and they were just like the coolest, most easygoing, positive people that you just want to be around. And then I found out about this super cool business that they started, and it's about helping people from the inside out and outside in. It's everything from finances to how are your relationships. So it's kind of looking at business from a 360 perspective of all the things that could affect it in a negative way. And then on the positive side, it's about setting goals about what you truly want from life. And they have really great strategies on that. So we dove into all the things pertaining to business. And then we talked a lot about life and the challenges as human beings, but ultimately to think positive and think about what you want, not what you don't want, and then you'll manifest it. So we had a really good time. I hope you enjoy it. Frances and Tony Pappalardo, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk to you guys about your business and about your big vision for people and your sort of revolutionary approach to helping people figure things out, not always from the outside in, but the inside out. So you have a company called Customize Your Life, which I'd like to talk about second. First off, I want to understand how you arrived at this company. And so maybe tell me a little bit about your story and how you came to the conclusion that this was a great company, and maybe in the middle of it, kind of how you met and just made this awesome union and partnership that makes this great company.
Sure.
Do you want to start, baby?
Sure. Man, so where to begin? I mean, for both of us, we were sort of at a point when we met each other that we were looking for something beyond traditional wisdom, everything that traditional wisdom had taught us about living our life in terms of really doing what the masses do and becoming a mass-produced, standardized person necessarily of society. We were looking to create different results. We really kind of wanted to figure out how we could maximize our resources so we could experience life at another level. The only challenge with that is neither one of us had experience in how to do that. So we had this idea of what we wanted. We had this vision. My background was in performance. I moved to New York for musical theater. I'd gone through some situations. I lost my dad, and that was really my turning point to want to create different results, And he had a sort of a different upbringing that brought him to that point as well. But for the two of us, that's really what it was about. We wanted to be able to live life on our terms. We wanted to be able to just not have to go through the traditional groupthink, traditional wisdom of society that we had done to that point, and be able to travel, be able to contribute at higher levels, be able to really do the things that were kind of kept in the cobwebs of our souls, so to speak, that kind of freaked us out and scared us. And we finally got to a point where we were like, you know what, let's freaking do this. I believe we have the audacity now to say we can,
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what set us on our path. That's what set us to finding mentors. And Tony actually had already had some really good relationships when we met that were really valuable in helping us unlock this and figure this out. And that's really all it came down to for us to be able to do this was mentorship.
Yeah. I didn't want to have to be the guy to figure everything out. I think copying is a lot better. So many people, they're like...
Imitation is the highest form of flattery.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you think of coaching, obviously you being a professional race car driver, I mean, you had professional coaches all throughout your career coaching on how to drive a car better. So when we looked at life, we said, okay, who's got the results that we want? Who's got, not just, I'm not talking about just materialistic things. I'm talking about like who has the family life that we want, who has the time with their kids, their wife. We kept seeing as we grew up, both Frances and I, we kept seeing people spend all their time chasing this career, but then losing their family. All right. And so we were like, I don't want to do that. And, my dad and mom had gone through a lot of challenges financially. They owned a furniture business, went out of business, had some real challenging situations with family, lost a lot of money, millions of dollars in debt. And It was the greatest thing that happened to our family, which is, at the time.
Please explain.
Yeah. At the time, they certainly didn't feel that way. I didn't feel that way. This started to happen when I was about 10 years old. And, house got foreclosed on, cars repossessed. So, when you see the stress of not having money, and I'm certainly not saying money is everything, but when you don't have money, it puts tremendous pressure on the family structure. And the kids see it and sense it no matter how much our parents tried to hide us and shield us from it. We knew things weren't right when furniture was being sold out of the house.
When you lose your bed, and you're like, here's a sleeping bag. Yeah, you knew it wasn't a sleepover.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, wow, we're camping out a lot in the house. Like, keep talking about all these fun games we're playing. This isn't fun anymore.
You're like, candles? The power didn't go out. I saw you flip the switch.
How come all the neighbors' houses have lights? Like, I'm not understanding this.
Your mom would actually do that. She'd play games with you guys to try to
keep
it.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, and my sister was younger. I hate to admit it, but my sister's 5.5 years younger. We're always joking around about that. But as
why? Because she's more mature than you?
She's always been more mature than me. I mean, she's awesome. She really is great. And my brother-in-law is my best friend. He's such a great guy. But when we were going through this, I heard a long time ago from one of our mentors. He said, "Look, the seeds of an equal or much greater benefit lie within every great adversity."
Okay.
And the challenge is most of the time we get so wrapped up in the adversity, and it's not like, what are we supposed to learn from this? How are we supposed to grow? How are we supposed to change? So my dad started to look, and he started to just seek mentorship, seek opportunities, seek stuff. And he met a guy that had retired in his early 30s, around 32, 33. His wife retired at 28, and he started to pursue him. And this guy started to take him under his wing and coach him and help him really develop some businesses and taught him about not just business, but about life, about having a good marriage. Like, this guy really coached my dad in life first.
Life coach.
Yeah.
Like all of life.
Exactly. And what he said to him, he said, "Look, Vinny, if you're not going to allow me to coach you in life, I'm not going to coach you in business, because your life is probably the way your life is, Vinny. You're going to screw up any business that I help you develop."
So this is the seeds for what was passed on to you, because that's what Customize Your Life is about, is about looking at the full spectrum of your life, including your business and your personal relationships with, your partner or your family. So that's fantastic. And, I heard another great thing you were talking about. People have adversity, they tend to focus on that, and that's what they get more of then. Like we talk about this, right? Whatever you focus on, you get more of. It's like water the right plants. So he wanted more opportunity. He wanted something different. So he started seeking those things instead of thinking only about the problems. You only think about the problems, you only get more of the problems.
Yes.
100%.
Got it. So then what was the next step? Like, how did you birth the idea of this business?
Well, what happened was I started.
Give me the basic framework of the business, because it's very unique, and you've explained it to me in depth, and I'm like, please explain more. But it's very creative, but very innovative, and it obviously somewhat came from your dad. So bless him.
Well, what we saw a gap. So I started getting mentored at 22, all right, but it was still kind of it wasn't as organized as, it was kind of like, hey, talk to this guy if you need help with this, talk to that guy if you need help with this. So what we did was, over time, and I got great results with it. At 22, I started working with my dad, with this gentleman, Charlie, and we started to develop our business. And we leveraged companies online, all right? The internet was up and coming. They had done everything offline. A lot of companies do it with network marketing. Amazon does it. eBay does it. Where when we talk about leveraging a company, what you're doing is you're utilizing their infrastructure. So they're warehousing, they're shipping, they're receiving, all that. So they just had a way more professional approach to leveraging companies rather than the kind of rinky-dink, hey, I'm going to go sell some stuff on eBay. They knew how to scale it. They knew how to take it to a big, big level. So they really professionalized it. So as time went on, we said, man, this is so helpful. How do we scale it? How do we make this available for the masses?
When you say it, you mean customize
the opportunity?
Your life.
Exactly.
So but how did you develop that as how did you go? Did you just say, hey, we want to help people? Or did you say, we're going to start a company. It's called this. This is our framework. Or was it just the idea that you wanted to help people?
Really more the idea, well, first we started to get helped and we had so many areas of our life change and develop and grow. And then it kind of birthed out of that. We were like, we want to help people. We want to,
So it really flowed. This wasn't this wasn't A and then B. It was like a free flowing kind of like, this is great and that's great. And wow, we could help with that. Okay, let's go. Okay, great.
Yep.
Like I love flowing. It's like we've talked about before, the best stuff is when you get out of the way and kind of let things take their natural course. So by example, by seeking, by, whether it be you or your dad or, the flow of it all of a sudden you arrived finally after some time at this place where you're like, oh wait, this is a business.
Yep. Yeah, and that honestly, like all of those pieces came together first, and then the name came second.
Okay.
It just made sense. This is what we're doing here. I mean, we were, since we've been able to establish our assets and get ourselves in a position where we're really living the life that we're proud of, the one that we'd always dreamt of, and of course we're still expanding and growing and going beyond. As we're looking and helping other people, we're like, we're teaching people how to customize their life. We had a vision for what we wanted our life to look like, and we've been able to get pretty close to it now with the help of the experts that we've sought out, credible experts that we've sought out that have helped us maximize in the areas of relationships, finances, which are the two main buckets that people need help with, right? Creating self-awareness, and then other areas that we needed help maximizing. And now we're here and we're helping other people do the same thing. And we're like, that's what we do. It's about creating a life that you intentionally design, not one that you just kind of go with, societal flow and hope works out and think, gosh, maybe, 20, 30, 40 years down the road, how did I end up here? So many people are chasing and climbing this proverbial ladder, but nobody's really saying, what is this ladder leaned up against? And do I even want to go there?
Yeah, well, it started from passion. Your passion was to live the life you wanted.
Yep.
And then you realized other people want to do the same thing, and this is how we can help them do this. So say I'm Danica Brand, and I have something that, I have a company, and I come to Customize Your Life, and I'm like, I want you to help me. What happens next?
It depends on the areas that you need to grow in, right? Most people that come to us, they come to us pretty organically. We're not really out there heavily soliciting and things like that. They come through referrals of people who've received good results, and that's what's shared with them. And they'll hear, we've received some great things in terms of how to pay off debt. We've heard great things about how you guys help people, start an asset that could produce more cash flow for them. We've heard great things about how you've helped people relationally. So everybody has a different, so everybody has a different thing that they're looking to work on, and that's really where we help them create a blueprint towards the goals that they set for themselves.
Okay. So what's the process like? Is there a quick overview of the process that you go through with these companies?
Yeah, we basically interview them. So in most cases, again, it's not all cases, but in most cases, somebody's, has heard our name or, reached out to us or reached out to somebody that we're connected with, and we'll take them through an interviewing vetting process where we find out really what they're looking for. The typical thing that attracts them to us is typically the finances.
Yeah.
All right. They want to make money and
they're thinking about their business.
Yeah. And so they're going, hey, I have a job. My wife has a job. We have a couple kids, but we don't have enough time. We need to come up with some assets. So we then teach them how to develop some low-cost startup assets online, all right, primarily with a network marketing business. So we say, okay, cool, this is the first asset that we're going to be able to help you develop. But in the process of that, we want to help you get your finances in order. All right. We want to teach you how to budget. We want to teach you, because so many people today, it's like the person that wins lotto, right? And it's like they have all this money, but they have terrible spending habits.
Sure.
And then they end up being more broke because they spend all their money and they just had access to credit or whatever because they had all this money.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, and we see with professional athletes, we see with all sorts of people that have a large sum of money come in, at one time. So we want to teach them good foundational habits in their relationships, in their finances. Like Frances was saying, those are the two buckets that people typically don't really ever get any good coaching with. Like I was getting relationship advice from all my divorced friends, friends that were single, So I was like, what should I do in this relationship? And everybody would have an opinion, but meanwhile, they didn't have any of the results.
Right.
That's like me giving you advice on driving.
Right.
Like
I saw you drive. It was terrible.
I know, exactly.
You did
I was
great.
very nervous. I'm like, oh God.
Very dangerous.
But we do that so much of the time. Like logically in sports, we go, okay, if I want to play basketball, I'm going to get coaching from people that play basketball. But in life, we get coaching typically from people that are terrible at relationships and terrible with their finances. So we really start on a basic level with people. We say, look, you got to be willing to let us help you in these areas, because any business we help you develop, you're going to ruin it if you don't handle your life properly. And that's really been the game changer. And we start really from the beginning, where we ask somebody a simple question, which my mentors asked me a long time ago, where they said, what's the question that you get asked your whole life, which is, what do you want to be when you get older? What do you want to be? Right. And we say, doctor, fireman, lawyer, whatever. And, it's the wrong question. The right question is how do you want to live?
Amen.
What do you want your life? Forget about career, forget about job, forget about any of that. If you could, have 100 million, $500 million, whatever the number is, how would your life look? What would you do on a daily basis? How would you give to charity? How much time would you spend with family? What kind of schools would you send your kids to? What would you and your wife do instead of having, trying to squeeze life into nights and weekends when you're dead tired? What would your life look like with your spouse?
Right.
Like all these questions. And then, anytime we ask somebody that, their brain, you start to see like things firing in their brain. They're going, oh my gosh, my whole life would be different. And you go, okay, well, if that's the case, you need to figure out a vehicle that could then produce the life that you want.
It's about asking the right question.
Yep.
I mean, you say that, and we've talked about school before and kind of the institution and the structure and the curriculum even, but it's like almost like we're ingrained into this process where it's like 9 to 5 all week. We do things we don't want to do, and that's just normal. It's like, what if you just like stopped all of that shit and just said, what do I really want to do?
Yep.
Right.
How do I really want to live my life? Would I take trips? Would I be an artist? Would I learn? Some people want to learn. The older I get, the more I want to learn. So some of it has to do with learning. So that's an incredible first steps, is saying, how do you want your life to look? And there's so many people that just buy into this rat race. This, I've heard it say, like the human race. It's like a race to no finish line, to death, a race to death. That sucks. That's just not that much fun to just, go to work to live, and you sound like you live to work then.
Yep.
Right.
So what happens after they start going, oh, I would do this, I would do that, I would do that? I'm afraid if I actually answered that question, I would probably just stop working and I'd just live and have a garden and 100 dogs.
Well, I'd visit.
And camp, of course.
Yes.
We love camping.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like with Customize Your Life, it's not about just making enough money so then you could sit at home and just do nothing or whatever. It's about like, what is your life going to mean?
Yeah.
Like when you pass away, like, are people going to remember you because you left a mark? Like, were people's lives better off because you truly lived? Did you really?
It's about legacy. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, legacy is so much what we talk about.
Yeah.
Because look, I got scared at like 7, 8 years old when I went down to Florida for my grandparents, like their retirement home community thing. And I literally remember this as clear as day, being around 7, 8 years old and going, this is what everyone worked so hard for, to play shuffleboard in the afternoon. I guess the question is like, are you fulfilled with the life that you're living?
Yes.
And if you're not, well then do you have the guts to go out and make some changes.
That's it.
Yep.
I mean, that's like, even when I look at myself and retiring at 36, and it's like, do you have the guts to just say, I don't want to do that anymore?
Yep.
Even though that's all you know, that's, you know, it's your reputation, it's your identity, it's
Yep.
safe,
Right.
it's familiar.
Yep.
It's like, do you have the guts to go, I'm not into it anymore.
Yep.
I'm not happy.
Yep.
Yep.
Do you see people having lots of big life changes? Like, do you see
Oh my
people?
gosh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, light bulbs start to go off left and right. And
Yeah.
when they start to strip away these conventional ideas that they've accepted for so long, that this is what life has to be about, now we start flipping the paradigm in their mind. And they start breaking through their own mental barriers and thinking, well, oh my gosh, I'm actually really starting to connect, I think, with the thing that I'm supposed to do. And maybe that's not the thing that's going to make them money. It's maybe they're supposed to just, maybe they really just always wanted to be a better, a well-rounded person in terms of being a better mom, a better citizen in their community, a better, a better wife, a better, they wanted to travel, they wanted to do all these things. It doesn't have to be about the thing that makes you money, right? And that's where society gets so confused, and our identity becomes what we do.
Yeah.
The first question when you go to a party is always,
Oh, what do you do?
what do you do? And then the whole conversation thereafter becomes about that. And so when we go to parties, we like to have fun with that question.
Yeah.
People ask us right away, what do you do? And like, oh my gosh, we do so many things. Let's see, we like to, well, we're
Surf,
married.
yeah.
We do a lot of things with our kids. We have 2 kids. We love to surf. We ski sometimes. We do yoga. We do a lot of stuff with charities and things causes that we care about and believe in. And we just kind of see them go cross-eyed.
They go, how do you do all that?
Yeah. And they sort of, they get like the googly eyes,
Yeah.
and we'll kind of lean in and say, oh, I'm sorry, did you mean how do we make money? And they're like, well, yeah. We're like, all right, well, that's fairly simple, but that's probably the least most interesting part about us. Right? Because life is, and our belief system is that life is meant to be lived. So then it comes about answering that question, well, how do I get myself in a financial position to do that, which is where we help people start to clean up their financial behavior and solve some things that can get them there. But that's really what it comes down to: purpose and fulfillment, which isn't meant to be confused with happiness. I think today's generation is continually trying to find this happiness, like I just want to be happy, and they'll find that it's a target that just keeps moving. They never seem to hit it. Whereas we're saying no, do something that brings you fulfillment, which comes from a much deeper place within.
True, right? There's a difference between having the dogs and like relaxing and things like that, and then setting a goal to inspire people or to help your local community, or help your community get like if I love gardening, fresh local fruits and so you go and you can have a garden, but it's really about helping serve your community. So it's going a little deeper into how are you going to make a difference. So the question really becomes to everyone is, how do you want to be remembered?
Yep.
Yeah.
How do you want people to look back at you and say, please describe Frances? How would you be described? As an adventurous person, fun, like that should be kind of the question. And then you reverse it back from there. It's like, what are they going to say at my funeral?
It's funny. We're actually in the process of writing a book right now. It'll be called Customize Your Life. And the first chapter, beyond the introduction, starts with your funeral.
Oh man, there you go.
And it's a visualization exercise where we're just inviting the reader into sort of this, experience as if they're at their own funeral, and they could see the highlight reel of what's going on and the people's minds that are passing by and paying their respects. What would they see? What do they want them to see? Right? And then what's the gap in between versus like, who are you today versus the potential of who you really could be? And to me, the saddest thing in the world would be going to my grave not having filled that gap, right? Of who I was to the ultimate potential of who I could be, And so we start them there, and then we the whole purpose of chapter 1 in the book is to begin with the end in mind, is to start there, start with that vision, really think it through, not just in material, the material world in a sense of, yes, you might want to leave a financial legacy, and we think that's great, and we believe in taking care of the first few generations, beyond us, but as you're saying, Danica, your values, your virtues, your truths. As your grandchild passing by there saying, man, grandma, she always stuck to her guns, she was like a gladiator in high heels. She just always stood for what she believed in, and she made sure we did the same thing. So that value, that virtue is integrity. Is what you're hearing. Are they saying, oh, grandpa, he just, he always did the right thing. He always had the courage to do this and that, or what are those types of things that you're hearing? And is that who you are today? Is it reflective of who you are today? Most people aren't truly living out of their values today. Yeah. And that's something we help people define as well, and then charge them with the accountability, because that's what they came to us for, is accountability, to really be truly acting out of that place, which then what they're doing is they're reaching their true authenticity, which, as Brene Brown says, the only way you can really truly feel connected to the world is if you're coming from an authentic place.
Right.
Yeah.
I've totally have a new thought for you guys. Scratch trying to help people when they have a business. You need to be like ground zero for kids before they go to college, before they go waste a bunch of time and money on something they really don't give a shit about, like the general like degrees that they get because they get to go be in a sorority or fraternity maybe, and they're not really sure yet. Instead, go like start from out of high school, and there needs to be some part of the curriculum needs to be customize your life. These are the questions we need to be asking ourselves, before we embark on a financial burden that you pay off for the next 30 years, or just, continuing on this repetitious wheel of like, I do things I don't like to do, and not spending the time to think about what it is that you actually want to do.
Right.
For me, I a couple of years ago, I finally had the time to like slow down. I was alone a lot more often and had a lot less to do when I was not at the track. And I figured out much more about who I am and what I like to do. But Lord knows, some peace and quiet is not easy to come by these days.
Sure.
Yep.
But it's so necessary, and that's really when you can get to know yourself.
Yeah.
And so it's funny you're talking about 18-year-olds launching into the world, and then unfortunately in most cases taking on a lot of debt because they don't have that figured out.
Yeah.
And 80+% of them not actually working in the field that they graduated in is not a good equation.
Is that
right?
the statistic?
That's the statistic. Yeah, I don't know the exact, but I know it's above 80%. And it's
wow.
That's a friend of ours said, you're asking an 18-year-old unregulated bag of testosterone what he wants to do with the rest of his life. And he says, how many of you would invest into an 18-year-old, and he describes it that way, unregulated bag of testosterone.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, no way. He's like, you wouldn't give him 20,000? No. 80,000? No. 100,000? No.
No,
And then
that's
he's
what
like,
you're
well,
doing.
that's what you're doing when you
maybe give them a little
enter
bit
in.
and a backpack and a passport, and then take off into the world and go experience some things. Go see the world. Go figure out what it is that you truly love and places that you like. You don't have to stay in one place. And I agree.
Or at least just hand them some really tough questions. Start with that end of the game, end of the life visualization, and see, get them thinking through a different filter.
Well, I guess I was probably 19, 18. I wasn't in college yet. I never went to college, but I was about ready to enroll in college. And one of my dad had actually connected me with another guy, and mentor, a guy I looked up to. He said, so you're going to go to college? And I said, yeah, I think I'm going to go to college. He goes, why?
Yeah.
and I was like, well, I want to learn, and I had zero. I knew what I wanted to do.
I want to participate in
Exactly.
Can you get a degree in partying?
Yeah.
No, just checking.
Well,
do that.
And that's what basically after some back and forth, I was like, yes, fine, I just want to party. I just want to hang out. I just want to surf. I just want to.
And
he's
you just
like,
haven't spent time thinking about what to do yet. You're like, no, this day's fun, so keep going. Sorry. I interrupted you.
no, but that's exactly what it was. He goes, why are you going to spend 6 figures taking out loans, doing all this stuff? He goes, just go surf, just go party, just go do whatever. He goes, but don't, put on a whole bunch of debt because you quote unquote are trying to, get into this college world because everybody has told you to do it. He goes, and it's really just an excuse for you to go surf. He goes, just go surf. And it was such a simple little thing. But like one of the things that we coach young people about, if we typically won't bring somebody on that's 18, 19, 20 because they're just kind of too young, too immature. But a lot of times parents will say, hey, can you talk to my kid? Mm-hmm. They're thinking about doing this with college and we don't have enough money to pay for their college. So can you talk to them? Because they're thinking about taking all these loans and they're going to have 6+ figures of college debt. And, and that's one of the simplest things we ask the person is, hey, what do you want to, how do you want your life to look? Yeah. I don't know. I never thought of it that way. So, okay, well, before you spend all this money on a college degree, why don't you just go to a local community college for a couple of years, kind of figure some stuff out. And then if you still want to go to the major university then you could do it. But at least you saved a whole bunch of money, and yes, okay, you maybe missed out on the experience for a couple of years, but I'll tell you what, I visited all my friends at college.
I didn't go to college.
Yeah, and I just spent the money for the weekend. I'm not recommending that to anyone, but the point is I didn't need to spend a whole bunch of money, and a lot of people don't need to spend a whole bunch of money for quote unquote experience.
It's the honorable way to burn time.
Yep.
Right? Isn't it? I mean, I'm not saying everybody does by any means. Look, if I'm going to the doctor's office, I sure as hell hope you went to college for that, right?
Yep, exactly.
But
100%.
Lawyers, they need to know the information. They need to learn how to speak a different language, so I don't understand them anymore. That was supposed to be a joke. But that some things you do need to go to school for, and then you go do that. But there's so much of it that's about doing what's respected, which is go to college, when what should be respected is honesty of like, I don't know what I want to do.
Right.
I would rather take some time, go travel, something like that, than spend your money, mom and dad.
Yep.
And I mean, look at can you imagine how much credibility that earn with the kid and the parents? What a mature kind of decision to make. And then, come a couple years later after traveling around, I bet your parents will still be willing to help you with something,
Yeah.
But college is just at least something that you want then truly, as opposed to, this is like I try not to say things that are very one-sided, but it's like, you got to question the marketing degree, right?
Yep.
Because I feel like so many people go to school and they're like, I'm going to go for marketing because they just don't know yet,
Yep.
Right.
It's like,
oh, absolutely.
I mean,
some of the degrees that people have, and I'm like, that's what you spent $100K for?
Yeah.
So you spent $200K for? I'm like, okay.
Wait a second. You spent $100K. You gained 20 pounds. You killed some brain cells.
Yeah, you learned how to funnel beers like a champ.
Wait, that's a talent.
That is a talent.
Don't judge that.
I don't know. That's what I learned visiting my friends at school, and I was.
That's your takeaway.
It was It was an awesome
Well done.
takeaway.
Well done.
Yeah.
That's a talent.
That
for
and
sure.
keg
So you
stands.
got to really open your throat.
You didn't get a degree?
I didn't.
They weren't offering that at the time?
Maybe
It's
in
a party
keg stands.
trick.
Yeah.
So you have a little girl.
Yep.
You obviously have Vincent, who's a little older.
Yep.
What do you feel? How do you feel about how you're going to address this wonderful perspective with them?
It's a good question. So
Vincent's
we've
been
already,
great with it,
we've already been talking to him about it. We said, look, school is a great option for you if that's what you want to do. The whole question is, what do you want to do with your life?
And is he 16?
He's 16,
right?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We've got him thinking this way. He sees value. I mean, I see value in school as well in terms of experience, as we were saying before. It's
Time
all
management,
just
responsibility.
yeah, absolutely. You learn some good skills, but it's the weighing out of, do I have the resources? Does this make sense for the end result that I'm trying to get? Right? It shouldn't just be, this is what everybody does. We haphazardly go through this and oops, right? Now I'm saddled with all this debt. So Vincent, because of the resources we've we have is he has the opportunity to go to school if he wants to, and we'll help him with that, and he knows that. But we're very specific with him, because he says, look, I just, I want to create a life like you guys. I want to have businesses, he's a family man. I want to have a wife. I want to have kids. I want to be a family man. Okay. That's Vincent. So, in order to do that, you're going to have to learn some responsible skills. And, if he wants to go to college and study something that's going to be useful for the rest of your life, right? Whether that's accounting skills or communication skills, whatever it is, don't just go at this for the social experience. Yep. Social experience is good. It's merited. We talked to him a lot about networking and building connections and creating friendships with people, because that's essentially how we've developed our success, is through the power of networking. Social
experiences happen anyway. I didn't go to college, and I'm plenty social.
Yep. We tell him, don't be that guy, Don't be that guy that, nobody wants to connect with after college. Keep in mind, you're building your reputation there. So we talked to him about a lot of this stuff, and it really comes down to the order of consequences. That's kind of how we parent. We get we get him to really play out every action he's going to do and get to the furthest consequence and see if that's something he really wants. So whether it's college, whether it's whatever, whether it's partying, we're like, hey, look, you can go drink. You're going to be out of our house. You can do whatever you want. You can try whatever you want. What's the first consequence? First consequence is it's probably going to be really fun. You're going to have a great time. First consequence of anything negative is usually probably really fun, right?
What a fun way to look at it. Great, I love this. Keep going.
But what's the second and the third?
Hangover.
Right? Let's say you want to try some sort of hard drug that's easily addictive, right? And people can ruin their lives over it. First consequence, really fun. Second, not so cool. Third, life's starting to go down the tubes, and this was not. So we always get him to project it out, get to the third, and say, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Right? Anything he does, whether that's going to college, it's, hey, he's buying his first car. Yeah. He just turned 16. He wants to wait another year. We've told him he'll work, and whatever money he earns, we'll match it.
Okay.
And but he's responsible for the insurance. He's responsible for the maintenance, all of it. Okay. So he has to factor that into the amount of money. So he's really logically thinking through exactly what he wants to do and which car he wants and why. Yeah. Because for us, it's not about, even with schooling, we're not so concerned about him getting an A+, because he's in school right now. It's, are you learning? Are you progressing? He's got a tough teacher right now. We're like, good. What are you learning from that? Right? How are you thinking through this? How are you navigating the relationship with her so you can get your desired result, right?
Well, our toughest teachers can be our most important ones, whether they be a parent or a teacher itself.
Yeah, because it's a parallel to life, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, so many people today are so weak with the youth that's coming up. Look, you did not get to
Let's talk about this.
Yeah, let's dive. I'm getting fired up about this.
Let's go. We're done talking about the business. Let's talk about how to solve the world's problems.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
Well, look, I get it. We have a daughter. We want to protect her. We want to make sure that she's okay. We want to make
and
sure
she's not even 2. So, there's a long time before you've got some time.
Yeah. But the reality is that she is going to learn. You learned. We've learned through the tough parts of life, not through being coddled. Right. Not, you weren't carried onto the racetrack and said, hey, here's a race car. Go drive it. You'll be great. Good luck. No, you had to grind it out.
Yep.
My first time in a go-kart, I crashed. I went head on into a concrete wall. Dad screwed up the brakes and they failed. No, I'm really being mean. I'm sorry. I love you, Dad. You're a wonderful mechanic. But the truth is the brakes failed and I went straight on into a wall. And he's like, do you want to keep going? I'm like, yeah.
See, but that's the difference.
Yep.
See, a lot of parents would have said, "Oh my gosh, you don't ever have to do this. Yep. I'm so sorry," and just pulled you away. And now that starts to develop a fear rather than a strength.
Right.
So you learned at a young age how to press into the things that were uncomfortable.
Right.
So we talked to Vincent, and obviously as Emmy gets older, we'll talk to her about this as well. But we say, look, there's good fear, and then there's bad fear. All right. Like a good fear is like, hey, a strange guy is following you. It's, at night, it's dark. Like, okay,
Fear's
that's
kind of necessary.
Oh, like
fear's
like
necessary.
A healthy, accurate one to act on.
Exactly. Like, okay, run,
Yeah.
get away, as fast as you can. But then, like a fear with stretching yourself, like when something's uncomfortable, when you're not getting something, and it's like, what are look, your brain is wired for you to go towards the path of least resistance.
For sure.
You know, so it's like, that's like when something's not coming
Your ego's
so
going to protect you.
Exactly.
Yep.
So that's when you need to press into it. All right. And that's when you need to go, okay, what am I supposed to learn here? How is this supposed to stretch me? And I think at least with us, that has been so great with Vincent that anytime he's come to a tough point in his life, we push him and nudge him and get him to think about things and go, all right, this is tough. It's supposed to be tough.
Yeah.
This is how you grow.
Yeah.
Simplest example is working out.
Sure.
You know, like
there's no pain, but there's no growth unless there's pain.
Absolutely.
We felt that today. High five, everybody.
We did.
Good job.
Yes, we
Good
did.
job.
Oh,
Those
that was
legs
little-
are going to be a little sore.
Holy
DOMS
smokes.
is going to happen.
I felt it
Delayed
right
onset
now.
muscle soreness.
Yeah.
If you feel it today, you're definitely going to feel it tomorrow. So,
we
but
have
that's
that.
true. You're right. Working out is like a great example. I use that too, where you're not going to get stronger unless you stress the muscle.
Yes.
Yep.
Right? You're not going to have better cardio until you stress your system, until you make your lungs uncomfortable.
Right. It
It's
is
the same
so
thing
necessary.
with your mind. It's the same thing with
For
learning
sure.
a new skill set, and just with parents today, if they would understand that and stop trying to protect their kids so much, and just let the kids be buried in the phone and in social media and all
Do
these
you
different
remember when we
things.
used to just ride our bike everywhere?
Yeah.
Remember
And I didn't have a
kids and
helmet.
No.
I didn't have. I was like,
no pads of any kind.
Nothing.
Like you just went on your bike and rode off. And now it's like, I mean, I probably would be guilty of that, of the paranoia of going too far myself. Like you get worried. I get worried about my dogs being outside for too long without me watching them, like a helicopter parent, that they're going to run away. So, but truth be told, huskies want to run away, so I have to. So I'm justifying myself. But yeah, the days of freedom, and also the things like you're hearing about kids in the old days. They used to do crazy stuff and jumps and jumping off of their house into the pool and all kinds of stuff. And now it's like I feel like there's your wings get clipped and everybody's afraid of. I mean, shoot, you might be afraid your neighbor saw it and call social services on you that you're not being a responsible parent. Hey, you left your kids out back too long. Yeah, they were digging a hole.
Yeah. No, it's 100% right. And that's where order of consequence on the reverse is look, if the first thing you do is really hard and really tough and it really pushes you and stretches you, that's uncomfortable. But the second order of consequence to that is a positive result comes out of it, such as working out. Yeah. Working out, if you don't like to work out and you've never worked out in your life, the first time you go to the gym is going to suck.
100%.
All right? But then the second order and the third order and the fourth order is you start to get in shape.
Yeah.
You start to feel better. You start to lose weight. The quality of your life improves.
Yeah.
So all these positive effects come out of when something is difficult, and
it's
there's
the
a great
pressure
book.
on the pressure turning something into a diamond, right? I mean, it's just it takes that kind of discomfort. We were talking about this yesterday about how even with emotional trauma and how it's so important to go through the pain of really feeling it. And I think as humans, again, just like we were talking about with you take the path of least resistance, naturally the same thing that applies to our emotions and how we don't want to face the difficult stuff. We don't want to say the things out loud that we don't want to become real. But we need to start saying them out loud. We need to feel the emotion. And the story I told you yesterday about for me last year having such discomfort with like uprooting again, packing my bags and leaving, and for 2 days my stomach is in a knot, like I can't eat and I can't figure out what it is, but I'm leaving in 2 days. That's the only thing that is going to happen. And I finally realized the night before I left through like just sending a text message where I was like, oh my God, that's it. I said something about like, I'm sick of like like uprooting and always going and moving and leaving and being the one to go. And all of a sudden, I cried it out. I was like in convulsions and I like got through that emotion and let it come through me. I wrote in my journal and I woke up the next morning and I pigged out and felt great. But it's just like, our pain, our emotions can manifest within us physically too. And that's a dangerous thing. So if we're not prepared to not only feel pain, doing push-ups. Like, how the hell are we ever going to, deal with the pain of something that happened in our childhood that was painful, or something that someone said to you that was hurtful? I mean, how many things can we say came from our, younger days that we can remember, of course, whatever that age is, at 4 or 5 years old, maybe we start remembering. But stuff that happened to us in our teenage years where you're like, you never freaking forgot what that one dude said to you. You never forgot what that one lady said, or you never forgot what your dad said. That stuff sticks with you. And so facing all of those things is part of our healing.
Yep.
And there's no growth unless there's pain. I always say there's always pain before growth.
Yeah. And what about all the stuff that you could be missing out on?
Sure.
if you're not willing to stretch yourself or push yourself to go into that interview or to work out the way that, you want to work out, what else in life are you missing out on?
Sure.
You're missing out on the milestones, 10, 15 milestones down the road of, again, your fullest potential. The greatest things that you're meant to do on this planet, and the mark that you're supposed to leave, and the things you're going to get to experience along the way, which could be really beautiful and great. I mean, I think about the things that we get to experience now. I'm so thankful for all the discomfort that we've had along the way. And we've learned to recognize discomfort. Like, we've learned to recognize it as a good thing and welcome it.
Yeah, look at that's a total, you're an alchemist. You're just turning something that's seemingly dangerous into an opportunity. And so there's also another way to describe it is just purely change your perception.
Yep.
Right? We are all just some point of awareness in the universe of where we put it, right? We're putting our point of awareness on something, so we shall get more of that. We are that, Right. So put your point of awareness on the positive side of something. And I'm preaching to myself right now, but I'm human, and I think that we all go through those phases. Yeah. And so for myself, I used to be much more negative, and I used to be much more. I just wasn't as happy, joyful, go lucky, optimistic, and just generally responsible for my thoughts. And so over time, I've really had to work to transition it. And so here's the one thing I've found about anything that you want to change. It's going to be, if it's worth it, it's going to be difficult.
Yep.
And it should be. If it's difficult, you're in the right spot, right? It should be hard. It's not going to be an overnight thing. Otherwise, it probably wasn't that big of a deal. Yep. It's probably not going to change you that much. So I first started to identify, first off, you have to recognize the pattern you don't like anymore, right? You go, okay, I don't like this pattern. So something might happen. Let's just take judgment for an issue, right? Like somebody walks by and you're like, oh, he's this. Oh, she's that. Oh, what? Something judgmental. First thing he goes, I don't want to be judgmental. And so you go, you know what? They probably, they're probably doing their best, or maybe they're struggling with this, and you start to take, when you say the judgmental thing in your head, and then you flip it, and then eventually over enough time of transitioning that thought, being your little alchemist of changing the thought, you start having that thought of good more regularly because you've practiced the flip, and then eventually you get to a point where that is the dominant thought all the time. But it's hard. Getting better is hard.
Yeah, it is, and it's a consistent. Look, you gotta build routines and habits in your life that actually make you move in that direction.
Right.
And reading. I hated to read in high school. I didn't read anything in high school. They make a joke. Her and my sister made a joke. They're like, "Do you remember any books that you read from high school?" I'm like, "Yeah." James and the Giant Peach. They're like, Tony, you read that in third grade. I'm like, that's the last book I remember.
My mom read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe to me.
Yeah.
And she would look over and she'd go, are you sleeping? And I was totally sleeping. Yeah. I was like, no, Mom, I'm just resting my eyes.
Yeah. No, I was just enjoying a dream.
Yeah.
So, but back to Order of Consequence, that comes from a book by Ray Dalio, Principles. It's a phenomenal book. Another book talking about when somebody's having a challenge, stopping and thinking and going hey, what is this person going through? 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And he just real quick, he tells a story about how this guy was on a train, and this guy was on a train with his kids, and his kids were running around like crazy, and he's sitting there going like dude, control your kids, be a parent, what are you doing? And he finally said something to him, and the dad goes, yeah, he goes, we just got back from the hospital and their mom just passed away, and and it totally changes your perspective. You're like,
Yeah.
what? You know,
It's giving people the benefit of the doubt.
yeah.
Right?
And it's like, and he said, he goes, the kids don't know how to handle it. And, I don't know, he's just, you're in shock.
He doesn't know how to handle,
Exactly. He's in a
Yeah.
state of shock. And, when we stop to think about it, because look, New York, we live in New York. We're driving here and coming across the street. How many times do we see people give people the finger? I don't know, a lot. But it's so funny, like just even driving, like just giving people the benefit of the doubt, letting people in, not letting these little things frustrate you to the point of where it's stealing your joy and robbing you of your joy.
Right.
And me, I was probably the most negative person on the planet, and to see how far I've come and just how we look at things and how I look at things, you could change.
Well, we know it comes from insecurities.
Yep.
It comes
And
from
I had
yourself,
a lot of them.
right?
Yeah.
Your opinion of me is a reflection of you, not of me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So if we're looking down the street and we see something that we judge, it's probably because we judge it within ourselves.
Yep.
Right.
It's so true.
Very powerful little thought process. But giving people the benefit of the doubt means that you're giving yourself the benefit of the doubt then too, right?
Yep.
Right? That's just a good thing to do. You talked about, ways to nurture and to change and techniques. So are there certain things that you do that are, daily rituals? Are there practices? Are there certain efforts that you make, whether it's like the books you read or, certain things that you go to, what do you do to continue to grow and evolve?
It's a good question. I'll let you start.
Yeah, daily habits are everything. That's it. The small incremental choices that you make are going to ultimately lead to your final result. So yeah, we make sure we're constantly, our heads are in books. We don't set a specific, we need to read 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, but we are just constantly taking in information through books, through podcasts, through anything that feeds us spiritually and emotionally and mentally and gets us sharper. We're very careful about what we put into our mind, because we know that that's what's going to manifest into our reality.
Right.
I believe, most people aren't truly conscious of that. When we became conscious of that, it changed everything.
Yep.
Again, back to working out, back to eating. Whatever you put in your body, that's whatever you feed yourself, that's what's going to eventually manifest in the physical.
Yep.
Well, why wouldn't it be the same thing? Whatever you put into your mind is what's going to come out of your words and out of your perception. So we're mindful of it. Whatever we're watching, whatever we're listening to, whoever we're associating with, we want to make sure that it aligns with whatever we believe and what we want in our life. We kind of put it through a filter. Does this align with our value system? And does this get us closer to our goal? If it doesn't match those two things, then why are we doing it? Right? So we're conscious about what we put in. And we make sure that we stay healthy. We keep our mind right. Association's a really, really big thing as well. And who we're aligning ourselves with. We always try to get ourselves around people that stretch us, that grow us.
Good job with that workout again, guys. All right, up high.
Right to that.
I'm just kidding. You used to be a trainer, so I think you need to put me through one of your workouts
this
next
morning.
time.
Man, we'll flash back to pre Frances, yeah. But no, you're Pretty Intense by Danica. Everyone is really intense. But we love it. But we're always getting ourselves around people that stretch us.
Yeah.
That are gonna. A goldfish is only gonna grow to the size of the pond that it's in. So
is that true? If you put them in a bigger
In the bowl.
tank, they would get bigger?
Yeah. So as human beings in our evolution process and our expansion process, it's only natural. If you're going to hang around with the same crowd, well, then you can take the sum of those results and tell yourself, you can figure out what you're going to be, projected 10, 15, 20 years down the road.
You say something like, show me your 5 friends and I'll show you your future.
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
Saying that yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you want a different result in your life, you're going to have to put yourself around people that are going to consistently sharpen the iron, grow and stretch you to become a better human, And it's uncomfortable and it's not easy, and just like the workout this morning wasn't easy. But it ultimately makes you better, and you're more grateful for the final result. So daily rituals are key. Meditation, people do all kinds of things, take cold showers in the morning, whatever you have to do to get yourself primed and ready for the day, so that, because you're going to typically wake up in a negative state. the brain naturally, it is always usually typically going to gravitate towards the negative because that's protection. It's kind of always probably going to look for what's wrong. You know, as you walk into a new situation, you're going to survey the room and, you know, is this safe? And you're going to look for maybe what's wrong in the environment naturally if you're not really in control of your thoughts.
It's just, is that a natural thing, or is that a learned thing? Like, do we, like, based on growing up, do we just kind of get trained to go, make sure it's safe, like watch before you cross the road? Is this a trained thing, or a trained?
I think some of it can be an instinctual. Yeah, I think it
100,000 years ago.
Yeah, probably just survival.
Yeah.
Running from lions in the open field. I don't know.
Saber-tooth tigers and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah, fortunately,
But were dinosaurs real? No.
You know, fortunately, we're not having to deal with those kinds of threats in our life.
Right.
But our body is wired to consistently look for those things and to protect and preserve. Right.
Yep.
So when you wake up and your stream of consciousness is going, for most people, they wake up in a negative state.
Yeah.
You know, the fears of the day, the insecurities, the doubts, the what could go wrongs. And so you have to grab hold of your thoughts, take them captive, and get yourself in a prime state to speak differently and look differently.
I've been waking up. I saw something that someone did. They said, just wake up and say thank you.
Yeah.
And so I wake up and literally say that one word, which I can totally manage that as a practice. My 10-minute meditation falls by the wayside most of the time, but I can wake up and say thank you. And it's amazing the difference in your like vibration.
Yeah.
And trajectory. Then, like, it's almost like you like you throw a dart in the morning, and as soon as you let it go saying thank you, it's going forward, it's going towards positive.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. And really just living, I think, in a grateful state is key. You know, one of the things we do with our meditation is I will sit there and visualize. I'll do some breathing exercises, and then I'll visualize. Well, I'll give thanks for whatever is currently in my life right now, whatever comes to me. It could literally be a bird that I hear in the distance as I'm sitting there. You know, hey, thank you for this. Thank you for the sunshine on my face. Thank you for my daughter. Thank you for my son. Thank you for my husband. Thank you. And I just go through this session of gratitude for the things I'm currently thankful for in the present moment.
Yeah.
Then I give thanks for things in the future.
Oh,
that
you're
haven't
using
come
that
to
technique.
pass.
Good job.
Yes.
They say imagine it as if, believe it and live it and see it as if it's already happened.
As if it's already happened. As if it already were.
Because it can only help but be then.
Right.
Yep.
And so I'm giving thanks. I'm projecting out my goals, the things that, you know, whatever it is. And I'm thanking in advance for it to go smoothly and for things to happen the way that I ultimately want. And it's that process
Do you
of visualization.
visualize that end goal, that thing you're being thankful for that hasn't happened yet? So I've heard that's a very important, which is for me the most difficult part, is to actually visualize something realized. Because your ego wants to say, not yet, girl. Like, you haven't done that yet. Don't be naive. That's what mine tells me anyway. And so it gets hard to do that, but that is a very important element of that manifestation, is not only saying it or you know, thinking it, but seeing it and believing it.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember when I was pregnant with my daughter, you know, you hear, once you're pregnant, you get all the horror stories of everything that could go wrong. Everybody just wants to
because
share.
That's positive.
Everyone wants to share. Oh, you know, make sure you check on this. Make sure you.
That's
this
true.
Is what
I mean, like
happened to me. Whatever.
Yeah, like my sister's pregnant, and I was like, ultrasounds are supposed to be really dangerous and really bad. And I was like, I almost don't want to send you this information, this like Instagram thing. And she responded in the way, and I told her, I'm like, so glad you responded this way. She said, okay, I understand. She's like, yeah, I only get 2, and it's not that big of a deal, and I'm not going to stress about it. I'm like, thank God, because as a human, you're like, you want to help people,
right?
But you know, it can be overwhelming.
Yeah. And you know, they're finding common ground with you. They're able to relate on their experience, and it's great. You know, and I love talking to people about their experiences. But your first pregnancy, it's a little bit like, oh my God. So I would visualize
go to that
great.
island that you don't know about, and I'll see you in 9 months.
Yeah, totally. But I would just, in my gratitude sessions, I would just visualize everything going great, and I would be thankful in advance for a smooth pregnancy, a smooth delivery, a healthy baby. We had the doctors telling us all sorts of things about her development, her brain, and we went through this little bit of an emotional roller coaster with it. But we spoke life over it, and we spoke victory over it in advance. that it was already taken care of and everything was going to work
Awesome.
out great. And lo and behold, it did. You
Yeah.
know, you met her this morning, or you met her yesterday,
Yeah.
right? And
she's so magical.
She's freaking awesome.
And she can
but
count to 10, and she's 18 months.
Yeah.
What?
she was doing planks and
Down
in and outs
dog.
and
She was curling things. Like
Yeah.
she's lifting
she's-
weights.
Super smart little kid, and anytime we would get reports like that, we would just kind of deny it, rebuke it, and just we'd pray about it, and we just keep on moving. Like we just didn't let those seeds of doubt and negative
Yeah.
just enter into our stick in our brain.
Yeah.
And we were just talking to Bill about that, who's one of our counselors, and he's helped us tremendously with our marriage and whatnot. And we just, so many people just receive information and they hold on to it. And it's easier to receive the negative information, all right, than it is the positive. It's funny. Like you could hear 100 good things about you and then you hear one bad thing.
Of
and then
course.
that's the one thing we're like,
I know.
oh my gosh. Like,
You're
Awesome.
right. You're totally right. Totally right.
So, that inside our brain, quieting that negative voice and not basically suffocating that negative voice and growing that positive one is so
Yeah.
important. And
Yeah.
it does take time and
Yeah.
it takes work.
Sure.
And,
Well, there's a saying, it's like the ego is impatient because it knows its time is limited, but the soul knows it has forever.
Yep. And that's the thing is getting in touch more, it kind of sounds silly, but really getting in touch with your spirit and rather
Yes.
than, just your fleshly feelings.
Well, right. Because like Tony, are you your arms?
Yeah,
No. Are you your eyes even?
No.
No. Are you your heart?
Yeah.
No, you're not any of those things. So what are you?
Exactly.
You're a conscious. You're a consciousness. You're an energy. You're a spirit. However, whatever you want to call it, that makes you
Yeah.
feel good. That follows along with what you believe. But yeah, you're
So true. And so many people are detached from that, and they only think of how they look, or how they're feeling that day. Like when I started to understand this, I stopped being an emotional roller coaster, and so many people.
Please help. Go ahead.
I had to be. Well, everything had to be perfect in my day for me to quote unquote feel good. And then when I remember talking to Bill, and he goes, Tony, you're going to have a day here and there where everything falls in alignment and you feel good. He goes, but those days are going to be so far and few between. He goes, you're going to live a miserable life.
I got the perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Golf.
Yeah.
There's almost barely any time you go out to golf where you're like, every part of my game was on. Driving, fairway, chipping, putting.
Yeah.
Almost never do you get all four parts of your game together.
Nope.
Right? That's life.
Yep.
Golf.
But it's so true. And when he said that to me, he goes, Tony, you have to learn to not let your feelings dictate how you're actually being. And I was like, what? What do you mean? He goes, Tony, if you don't feel good, you have to be able to control the feelings and still enjoy your life. He goes, you're into this destination disease where you think that when you get to this point, you're going to be happy. He goes, happiness is a choice. And he started talking to me about it. And we could talk 2 hours just on this one point. But point is you have to stop being such an emotional roller coaster. And it's understanding that not everyone is going to be happy with what you're doing. Question is are you happy with what you're doing? You're never going to be able to satisfy everybody or satisfy, your family and this and that. The question is at the core of who you are. Are you a good person? Are you doing the right thing? Are you a person of integrity? Do you truly treat people the way you would like to be treated?
Amen.
Like the basic golden rule.
Yep.
He goes, and if you do, he goes, there's going to be some people that will literally be angry at how good you are to them. He goes, but that's not you, that's them. He goes, and if you change who you are to satisfy them, here's what will happen. He goes, you will lose yourself and you will never satisfy them anyway.
It's true.
He goes, so figure out who you really, really want to be and get down to the core of that. He goes, and that's how your whole life changes. And that's what changed in our relationship. I stopped being so like questioning what she said to me in a negative way and being like, did you mean this and actually mean that? And I started going down rabbit holes.
Of course.
Insecurities. We talked about this
like,
yesterday and
my whole yard is filled with rabbit holes.
Yeah. Oh,
from
me
what
too.
I've gone down. Yeah, of course.
And it just it was amazing. It was
But it's a
huge
choice. It's a choice.
Yep.
It's a choice to decide whether or not you want to feed that
Yep.
insecurity and run down that rabbit hole
Right.
And then, as we said before, like, you as a human will, like, your mind will do everything and anything possible to validate that crazy thought.
Yeah.
You will look like Inspector Gadget in every nook and cranny and every Instagram account trying to figure out how you can justify this crazy thought.
Oh, absolutely.
I literally think of it as like a little gremlin that's on your shoulder, just pulling your ears and getting you, you know.
Yeah, there's a great Elisa Romeo is someone who is a spiritual teacher, and she has a whole chapter on gremlins.
There you go.
I gotta
Haven't read it. Makes total sense though.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and those things can control your life for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
If you let them.
Well,
you know,
it's only real if you believe it.
Yeah. And so it's about you getting to the control panel of your life, saying, no, you are in control of your thoughts.
Yeah.
Your mind is a free agent. It's going to do whatever the heck it wants.
Yeah.
It's going to look for whatever it wants to look for, and it's going to craft whatever a picture it wants to craft if you're not in control. And that's what most people don't understand, and that we didn't understand for most of our life, you know, until we went through the experiences that we went through. And we actually did something really interesting. It's called the Arno profiling system. It's temperament testing. And it gets down to the core of who you are.
Yep.
It's pretty deep. It's a lot deeper than personality testing and everything. And here's why. Your temperament is what you're born with. So you see two babies in the nursery, and they could look totally different, right? Or just respond to the world totally different. We have a couple friends of ours, they have twins. The girl is this super feisty firecracker. She's already walking, she's into things, she's climbing stuff, like she's all over the place. The boy's like super chill. He just watches her. He's like, I'll walk when I want to walk.
Okay.
I'll do what I want to do. Somebody bring me my bottle, I'm cool. Like, doesn't cry a whole lot, super chill. So they have their temperaments are already visible. You can see it.
Yeah.
But what happens is you go through life, you get this layer of conditioning over your temperament. And that comes from your parents, your teachers, anybody that influences you. The experiences that you have will condition and start to mold and shape you according to that. If you have super type A parents, but you're like that little boy who's super chill, you're probably going to act more aggressive in type A, literally out of survival in your own home, even though it goes against who you are. Then the third layer of you is your personality. And that's what you want to be. That's you looking at somebody in the world and seeing the results that they get and wanting to emulate them because you want to get the same result. This isn't a conscious thing that we all do, but you have a great coach, you have a great, you know, anybody in your life, a friend of yours, and you're like, man, they're super extroverted, they're funny, people like them. You know, if you're younger, you're like a guy, you're like, oh, they get girls that way, whatever, you know, whatever it is that you see, you're like, I like that, I want that result, and therefore you start acting like them.
Yeah.
And that's what shapes your personality. But so by the time you go through the conditioning and the personality, you could be so far away from your temperament, it's not even funny. And then you're in the world going, what's wrong with me? Why do I get like this? You know, you compare yourself to other people constantly, thinking like, man, if I could just.
So this test figures out the temperament.
Gets down to the
beyond
temperament.
those other things that come after, and goes, hang on, let's get back to the root.
Yes, and it's so enlightening.
And you guys did
was
this. And you said your results
game-changing.
were kind of shocking, right?
Shocking.
Totally shocking.
Because of our conditioning and our personalities, our temperaments were somewhat opposite of what we thought that we were.
Mine was totally opposite.
Yeah. Tony has what they call sanguine. He's sanguine melancholy. He's got this super fun relational side to him that likes to have fun, likes to be spontaneous. And then he's got this melancholy side to him that's more organized, and things have to be, it's sort of a perfectionist. It's like kind of having a CPA in your brain as well. And that can also, so he can have this sort of polar pool between the sanguine who's relational, likes to have fun, and the melancholy side of him that actually wants things a little more quiet and can be somewhat more introverted. I, on the other hand, I'm a choleric melancholy, which means I have basically like a lieutenant or general in my head at all times telling me that like I need to get stuff done now. So it's banging on the door of my mind consistently. And then I've got the melancholy, the CPA, that's like, yeah, but if you're going to do it right. Like, so in other words, cholerics, if you have a straight choleric and you're in a boardroom, they're usually the one pounding their fist on the table. They're like, rah, 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 we have to do this. You know, they're typically, they have a propensity to be leaders in the world. Like they're typically just kind of out there. They fling stuff into the universe without even like, if they're a straight choleric, it goes through no filter.
Yeah, zero filter.
That's me.
But because I have this melancholy side, I've got this filter that's catching it. So if I'm in a boardroom, I'm not the one banging my fist, but my brain is firing as if I am.
Yeah.
Because I'm having this mental conversation in my head that's figuring out the right words, figuring out the right options, and making sure that whatever I say, when I say it,
You're a powerhouse.
I'm usually the one that has the last word. Right? So
you can have it in this podcast.
I can be crazy though if it's unregulated.
Yeah.
Like if I'm not aware of this, I'd stay up at night. My brain wouldn't shut off. I would get mentally exhausted. I'd have low energy at points because it was just like my brain was on a consistent treadmill. So things like meditation and just sense of self-awareness and mindfulness, nature. You and I talk, Danica, about nature a lot. It's not only important, it's
essential.
Vital for me.
I feel the same.
To stay grounded, you know? And then the two of us entering into a relationship, we're very opposite.
Is it the melancholy that allows it? Like, is this some kind of a test that you could do to say, like, yeah, we're compatible?
You actually...
we wouldn't have been, but...
Even if you both have the melancholy?
It would definitely help 1,000% if couples took it before they were going into a relationship. I mean, we do, not us, but we set up one of the parts of our mentorship organization, has a part where these people could get tested.
And you know what's funny? I bet people wouldn't want to do it. I bet if people were in a relationship, they wouldn't want to do it. Because I'm like thinking to myself, gosh, that sounds great. No, it doesn't. What if it doesn't come back the way I want? And that is the fear of truth that people have, right? Because you're going to get there anyway.
Yeah.
If you're not meant to be, if it's not meant to be, move along because it's going to happen anyway. And all it does is get more difficult, more complicated, and more painful.
Yeah.
So face the truth as soon as humanly possible. That's something that I do the best job I possibly can with is facing the truth as soon as possible. It's like, oh, if you don't like this, well, I better do that sooner or later because if that's the problem, then it's going to come out sooner. Something else will be the reason sooner or later, you know?
Yep.
So that's a fantastic test. I'll sign up. I'm sure.
You'll like it. I mean, you and I talked about that yesterday. And if a couple took it before they were really entering into a relationship, it wouldn't say, hey, you guys are compatible or not.
Good. So it's like a psychic. They're never going to tell you you're going to die soon. They're just going to be like, you should really be careful about the train.
Well, don't go on any trains.
Bungee jumping, bad idea.
That's awesome. But what it'll do is it would give the couple tremendous perspective on how the other one operates.
Okay, tools.
Yeah, and how they think. If we went into our relationship knowing... Because that was the biggest thing is miscommunication.
Right.
Not understanding each other.
Yep.
So she would do things and I'd be like, the heck, what is that? And I would do things and she'd be like, what is wrong with you? And the other thing was I was so insecure with how I was actually being because so much of my conditioning growing up, not to go into a long explanation, but like I would have these big explosions with my family, with friends, with loved ones, and I created a pattern where it would be a fight wouldn't get resolved until it got to a ridiculously high elevated state. So then that became my pattern.
I have no idea what you mean.
Yeah. So then that became my pattern and I brought that into all my relationships and until I was able to understand my temperament and then understand where this pattern came from, I wasn't able to disconnect the button from like literally people would push my buttons and it would take me there.
Yep.
So I had to disconnect the wiring from the button. Get to the root, pull it out and deconstruct
You had to look it
it
in the face and go, no more.
Yeah, exactly.
And change patterns or change routines and just change your firing. You had to go through some neuroplasticity of retraining your brain. And I think that this is something that if everyone was honest, they would want to do.
Oh, 100%.
And I think I think there is some sort of level of compatibility with all of the temperaments.
Yeah.
Because we've seen them. We have so many people now that have taken the test and we've seen the results and we've seen so many that, it's funny if they have the exact same temperament, usually what they'll struggle with is awareness, because they're the same. So like they're not going to call each other out on anything. So if somebody else offends them, they're both going to be like, yeah, that person's wrong. Well, because they're both coming from the same perspective. So that can actually be kind of tough, for them operating in the rest of the world around them, because they're both justifying each other's wrongs, essentially. We were very opposite in a lot of categories. Even though we had that melancholy, it's broken down into 3 categories: inclusion, which is how you are socially; control, which is control, how you want to control yourself and others; and then affection, which is how you relate to other human beings and want that sense of affection. So we were different in each category. And for the affection category in particular, I'm not even on the scale. He's off the scale. Right? So that right there for a relationship could be challenging if he would get offended or get his feelings hurt in a sense, because I wasn't responding to him a certain way that he thought everybody should respond to everybody that way, because that's how I am. Right?
We give what we want to get.
Yeah. So what it did is it broke down these barriers for us, and we just learned to accept who we were. But also not, accept our temperaments and learn the strengths, understand the weaknesses, but not give justifications for them. Just know that they're there, and now be excited about what we have to improve on. But we shed grace on each other. We had empathy.
Ken, you went for the positive.
And now we get it.
You're clerical. Got it. You handled this. You're so good at this.
Totally.
Yeah, you can focus on the positive and how it could be used to your advantage, instead of being frustrated or letting the ego scream out loud, like, are you telling me I'm not good enough? Am I not detail oriented enough? Or whatever may be the problem. What a cool thing. Again, like I said, I would love to do it. I think that's a innovative, and like if we can use science, we might as well. So that's cool. Look, I want to finish off this conversation by one of the points that we got to in the middle, which is your first chapter. I want you guys to tell me what you want said at your funeral about you as a human being.
This is good. I'm going to go first.
Sure. That us living a life that we impacted people tremendously positive, that people lived a better life because we were a part of it and we connected them with the right people and we helped them in certain areas of their life, and that we generated or helped charities and have charities with huge trust funds that live on way beyond our days, and that we are making an impact way past our death date. That's what we want, that no matter how difficult it was at points, we always stood on the side of right, whether it was unpopular, whether it was to a lot of people only do things what's right when it's in their financial best interest or when it's not offending anyone. We don't. We do the thing that's right no matter what, and if somebody doesn't like it, too bad. If we lose money on it, well, that's okay, because we believe that doing the right thing is the right thing no matter what. And I think so many people, there's a great simple book called The Go-Giver, and the beginning of the book, the guy his perspective on how to make it in the world is to basically kind of do whatever you have to do to stomp on your competition and beat out your person, and that's how you become successful. And the mentor in the book really teaches him that's not the way to do it. And that's not the way to live, because at the end of your life, man, if you made all this money and all this success and everything, but you burned relationship, you hurt people, you did the wrong thing.
Working out of fear instead of love.
What the heck what was your life? Tony Robbins talks about it with the Dickens method, Charles Dickens and, the Christmas Carol.
Ebenezer Scrooge.
Ebenezer Scrooge going through that process of his life being presented to him, what people are going to say, and how he's affecting people in the present, and how he was brought up in the past. And it's like we don't ever look at our lives like that. Most people don't, and when they're doing the wrong thing, we justify it. People justify why it's okay to do the wrong thing. And a long time ago, we just stopped justifying stuff like that, and
for yourselves and for other people.
We were just like, no, this is wrong, and we are going to do everything. We're just not going to do that. We're not going to go down that road. We're not going to justify things. And when you do that, you live so, like, we put our head on our pillow at night, and we know we're doing the right thing. And here's the thing. We don't just go, we're doing the right thing, right? We check with people. We're always in counsel. We have a multitude of counselors that will hold us accountable to a ridiculously high standard.
Yep.
Because a lot of people, I heard one person said, "Oh, well, I counsel with God." Really? Do you talk to anyone else? Oh, so you have a direct phone line with God? Because that's ridiculous. Because you could have somebody, okay, you could be a wacko and say you're talking to God.
It's a looped conversation, possibly.
Yeah,
it is
exactly,
in your head.
exactly. Right. And you may not be.
I don't doubt that you can't connect with some spirit.
I agree.
And the intuition or gut feeling or whatever you want to say. But look, your cop out of like it's just this one person. We have a good conversation and it's fine. Like it's part of the team. But
exactly, God is definitely part of the team. But then God will speak through you through other people. True. As well. Yeah. So if you don't have other people in your life that are holding you to accountable to the standard at which you quote unquote say you want to live, then you're full of crap. So find people in life that are going to hold you to that standard and kick butt. Yeah. So that's
And I think it's on that point, you can make God whatever you want it to be based upon your intentions and experiences. I'm not saying that that's right. I'm just saying that's what people can do. Yeah. So they can twist whatever story they want projected into the world and use that, because no one can go verify it. Nobody can go fact check or check the record base, right? And craft whatever story they want. So we can do that too if we're not careful.
True.
We have to be really
be in your
conscious.
Own little closed loop of saying like, you good? Yeah, we're doing the right thing. Sure.
Yeah. You can absolutely talk yourself into whatever, So we do seek inward 100%, and we look for that to be our true north with our spiritual connection. But then we check it with counselors, with wise counselors. And so I got the front row seat to the funeral experience when I lost my dad in 2008. And that's when everything shifted for me. That's when I had my existential crisis, if you will, and I started to reevaluate everything I was doing. Why was I doing it? What did I actually believe in? Because my dad was my hero. He was my best friend, and he was also our lifeline to our family. So financially and everything, that our lives just started to change dramatically. But at his funeral, I was really impacted by the fact that when people were sharing whatever they wanted to share, it wasn't about the credits or the credentials or the accolades. My dad had, his story was inspiring. He came from nothing. He made something of himself. He did a lot of really great things. He won a lot of awards. He contributed to books. Nobody's up there saying, this particular book on supply chain management or this, we're so proud of him for that. Everything that they were sharing came down to some sort of investment that he made into them through time, through friendship, through telling them the truth about something that they needed to hear, even when they didn't want to hear it, because he loved them more than he cared about their opinion of, or their feelings, right? He was that kind of guy. And so many people are impacted that people flew in from all across the United States, people we'd never even met before, that wanted to tell us a story about our dad. And he was just, it hit me so loudly that up until that point in my life, I was very performance driven. I was chasing musical theater. That's what everything was about. I didn't care who was in my way. You're going to get the heck out of my way for me to get to my goal. And not that you can't be so passionate and focused and determined on something, absolutely. But if you're doing it at the expense of relationships and really experiencing life, again, what are you doing it for, right? It's that destination-oriented disease that I had. And so I shifted my perspective and I said, when I get to the end of my life, I want people to have said, as Tony mentioned, my life is better off because of Frances in some sort of way, of Tony and Frances in some sort of way. They contributed to our life. They impacted our life. They went out of their way to serve us when nobody else would. They're the kind of people that, just would have given their shirt off their back and done anything for us in terms of our relationships and our friendships and anything that we just sow into the world. We want to make sure it's good and we're proud of it. And by the time we get there, we can look back and say, hey, job well done. I want to get to the finish line exhausted. I literally want my hair messy, sweaty, just like out of breath, kind of like I was this morning. But I just, the finish line of our life, I just want to just get there, just like, you know, and it just be like, hey man, job well done. You did it. You went from, you achieved your highest potential, and you made the world better. You know, I know, you know, it may not be eradicating malaria or doing something necessarily on that level where the whole world feels it. But as far as we can reach, we want to make an impact. Essential. Absolutely.
Well, here's to building bridges, not burning them. And if we just build enough bridges, we connect everyone in the world. So thank you guys for having
us.
Deeper, more meaningful, a very meaningful purpose, and to give yourselves and your time and your emotion to see people help see the best in themselves. I love that too. I share that. I share that that goal in life. So thanks for all the sacrifice and the vision. And thinking outside the box. Screw the box.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Exactly. No box.
Thank you, and thanks for everything you're doing, Danica. We love how you're showing up in the world. Like you know, you kicked butt. You're such like, I mean, you're a legend. You're a legend. You're a hero. You're a mentor to so many, and it's not over for you. It's never over. Like, you're just stepping into a new arena and just getting started on something that I know is going to impact not just tens of thousands of people, but hundreds of thousands of people worldwide.
Well, thank you. I'm not the best at receiving compliments, so I'm working on that too. Always a work in progress.
Yeah.
Well, thanks guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for listening to the Pretty Intense podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. And also, thank you so much, Trevor Hall, for the awesome music. If you like what you heard today and you want to hear more, please click on the subscribe button.